वेलकम टू दी जयपुर डायलॉग्स क्लिप्स। आपने जिस तरह से हमारी मेन चैनल को सपोर्ट किया है, मैं यही आशा करता हूं कि उसी तरह से आप इस जयपुर डायलॉग्स क्लिप्स चैनल को भी सपोर्ट करेंगे तो सबसे पहले आपसे अनुरोध है कि इसको सब्सक्राइब कर लें। सब्सक्राइब करने के साथ साथ बेल आइकॉन ज़रूर दबा लें। लाइक करें चैनल को। लाइक करने से ही चैनल आगे बढ़ती है, वीडियो आगे जाता है। और इसको अपने दोस्तों के साथ, अपने परिजनों के साथ, सबके साथ शेयर करें। और बिल्कुल ना भूलें कि आपकी सहायता से ही ये क्लिप्स की चैनल आगे बढ़ेगी। Enjoy the clip.
The Western Indologists, they only want to drill hole. Why? Because their dogma of the biblical date of this Earth's birth in 4004 BCE has to be sustained.
So I'm sure there are many scholars today who don't want to adhere to the biblical dogma, but they still don't want India to be regarded as the oldest civilization. And there is this jealousy towards India in the West. Whether they say it or not, they are jealous. And they want to portray, I see, Western जो world है, they say it is Western civilization. ठीक है, let's assume it's a civilization. They say कि उसका जो roots है Western civilization का, it is Greece, Mesopotamia and Egypt. Okay? So they want to portray these three civilizations as older than India. To perpetuate the so-called greatness of Western civilization. So that's
But they killed off all these three.
They destroyed all three. There is no Greek civilization left. There is no Mesopotamia left. There is no Egypt left.
They Christianized everything first. And later on, Islam came and gave them a proper lesson.
So they will only glorify those civilizations they have destroyed. And India has not been destroyed. India has refused to die. And that's why they hate India. There is this hatred. There is this jealousy. There is this resentment that we have refused to lie down and die. And you see this in Western academia. There is a lot of hate there. You spoke about people like Trushki, Audrey Trushki and all. And there is this Michael Witzel who once mistranslated the verse of the Nasadeh Sukta.
Yes.
And he was exposed very badly. That fellow. He's a German Indologist who works in the US. तो नसादिया सूक्ता में obviously ये एक अथर्ववेद का एक टेक्स्ट है जो कहता है, which speaks about the migration of a king called Amavasu. और उसमें कहता है कि Amavasu migrated westwards. His people are the Aratha, the Gandhari and the Parshu. तो हम जानते हैं गांधारा लोग कौन है, परशु कौन लोग है. Aratha could be Armenia or something most likely, but we still don't have a complete proper identification. उसमें ये टेक्स्ट संस्कृत टेक्स्ट में लिखा है कि he went westward. माइकल वित्सल ने उसका ट्रांसलेशन किया, he went eastward. And it was a very blatant lie. And it was
He was caught.
He was caught, exposed, and he has no way of refuting that he was deliberately mistranslating that. So these people have been caught in fabrication.
He has done it deliberately.
Yes.
Or he doesn't know Sanskrit. One of the two.
Well, either he's not an Indologist or he's a liar. But both ways he's exposed. So these people have been caught in the act. They've been caught red-handed.
Like Sheldon Pollock does.
Sheldon Pollock.
He takes out all his spirituality from the text. He does what is called literal translations.
Yes. See, you will not see a non-Jewish person teaching Judaism. You will not see a non-Christian teaching Christianity. You will not see a non-Muslim teaching Islam in the US. You will see people from that faith and from that culture being the authority at teaching to students. When it comes to Hinduism, it's always non-Hindus who take up the mantle of the great scholars who are going to teach the world about this primitive religion called Hinduism. So this is something that has been going on for decades. It's high time India does something about this and takes back.
That's because there was first the colonization.
Yes.
First there were, of course, the brutal invasions. Then there was the colonizations. And after that we have had, for nearly 70 years, we have had quasi-colonization.
Quasi-colonization, yes. Continuing colonization, mental colonization and academic colonization. So that's the kind of disrespect with which Hinduism is treated in academia in the West. And it's time that we start our own foundations and our own institutes of Indian studies, of Hindu studies. I think some steps have been taken to some extent. UGC now allows universities to offer these courses about Hindu studies, master's degrees and all that. But we need to have institutes of this, not just courses here and there, which can still be distorted possibly. So these things need to happen. But yeah, the Western Indologists have been distorting our texts. They have been fabricating lies about migrations and all. जहाँ पे clearly दिख रहा है कि भाई West में migration हुआ था, they're saying East में migration हुआ था. So they know what the truth is. The truth is that India was this big, huge population center. The Saraswati Sindhu era, if you look at the geographical extent, it is larger than Egypt and Mesopotamia put together. उससे भी बड़ा है. And the population was the highest at that time in India, at least 5 million individuals, which was bigger than anybody else. So India was the place from which you had migrations outside of India. It is clearly proven that 5,000 years before today, there was a migration of Indians into Australia. But Australia कहाँ पे है? समुद्र के बीच पे है. Indians reached there. And today, if you look at Australian Aboriginal people, if you analyze their genetics, about 10% of their genetics comes from India. Indian genetics. Not North Indian or South Indian, just Indian, because it's the same. And at that time, you have the influx of this new species in Australia, the Indian dog, dingo, जिसका आज descendant है, the Australian wild dog called dingo. And you have the advent of new technology also in Australia at that time. At the same time, 5,000 years before today, you have the sudden appearance of Indian cattle in the Fertile Crescent. On one hand, you have Indians reaching Australia 5,000 years ago. On the other hand, you have Indians reaching the Middle East 5,000 years ago. Looks like those
Hittites and Mitanni.
Hittites and Mitanni.
Civilization. You have the evidence of rice going out of India.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the evidence of the bull.
Bull, Indian Zebu cattle. And they are interbreeding with local cattle over there. So, see, bulls and cows, cattle don't tell each other, chalo aaj jate hain migration ke liye. They will go with humans.
They go with you.
They're domesticated species. And today you have Indian Zebu cattle and their descendants all across Europe, across the Middle East, also all across Africa. Around 2000 BC, you have the advent of Indian cattle in Egypt. आज से 4,000 साल पहले. So all of this is an indication that around 5,000 years, mice also, and all that. So around 5,000 years before today, somehow there was a big outpouring of migrations out of India, all directions, into Australia, into the Middle East, maybe westwards into Europe also.
Southeast Asia.
Also, you will see Cambodia, all that, which has clear Indian DNA. Indonesians are anyway half Indians. Indonesia hai bhai. And Africa also. So this was the real Aryan invasion or Aryan migration. We never invaded. We migrated. And we assimilated wherever we went. So that's the thing. So there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever of Aryan invasion, migration. Now ये लोग क्या कहते हैं, Tony Joseph लोग, कि there were many small, tiny waves of migrations. Not one migration. छोटे-छोटे migration होते रहे.
Tourism
essentially. उसका भी evidence दिखाओ भाई.
You'd be surprised. Some very eminent scientists, I'll give you an example of a Pakistani scientist, eminent scientist. I like him otherwise. Parvez Udboy. If you listen to him a couple of times, he tries to be very rational.
Oh yeah. But when it comes to Hinduism,
but completely sold out to the Aryan invasion theory.
Yes.
Closed mind. Doesn't want to listen. Doesn't want to argue with anyone.
Is he
doesn't want to present. No.
Is a Muslim? Okay.
Muslim.
Okay.
So you see these closed minds even in India. Tony Joseph is one example. He can go to any extent to not just peddle lies, but to invent history.
He doesn't have the guts to defend his book.
Yeah. So nobody has the guts to defend the Aryan invasion theory. 2 crores is not a small amount. Come on.
आ जाओ भाई.
हम इसको 10 करोड़ कर दे क्या?
तब भी नहीं रहेंगे.